morning, and thank you for turning out for this formal kickoff for our 75th anniversary. We had to ask what's the 75th anniversary gem or mineral? I guess what was the fifth paper? I don't know. They're not all gems, but this one is our diamond anniversary. So we're thrilled to formally announce that we'll be spending this 21-22 academic year happily celebrating SUNY Broome's 75th anniversary. Now, many people in the room know that SUNY Broome is our fifth or sixth name in our history. So it's something we had a proud history of when we changed it to SUNY Broome on becoming a residential campus, I think now 7 years ago, is it, Carol? Residence Hall? So lots of history here to celebrate, and becoming a residential campus is just one of the many milestones over the past 75 years. As the seventh president of SUNY Broome Community College, hope lucky seven in some sense, I'm deeply honored to be part of the team that ushers the college through such a great milestone as our diamond anniversary. As I mentioned, we've had a few names and even a few locations over the past 3/4 of a century. But throughout that, our mission has remained firm to provide an accessible college education while demonstrating inquiry, respect, integrity, trust, and equity. Community colleges were founded on the principle of equity, that anyone could come who had completed a high school education. That was not the case for most all of higher education prior to the existence of community colleges. What started as a post-World War II state-funded experiment in higher education has grown to become a premier community college within SUNY, the largest comprehensive university system in the United States. You can't help but marvel at all that can be accomplished over 75 years. In 1946, the then New York State Institute of Applied Arts and Sciences at Binghamton offered 5 programs of study, which included chemical, electrical, and mechanical technology, and medical dental office assistant, and technical office assistant. Now we offer over 60 programs of study, many of which can be completed fully online. On the first day of classes 75 years ago, 215 students walked through the doors of the State Armory in downtown Binghamton. And I can tell you from the history of community colleges, higher education was vastly dominated by men until community colleges opened their doors. And as many community colleges opened their doors, classes were majority women. Flipped the paradigm almost overnight in many, many cases. This past August, just over 6,000 students attended classes combined on our main campus at our newly restored historic building, which is now our culinary and event center downtown Binghamton, back to our roots, and in dozens of high school classrooms, thanks to our partnerships with many of the region's local high schools, most of which are referred to as Fast Forward. It's truly remarkable that over 52,000 graduates proudly call the New York State Institute of Applied Arts and Sciences at Binghamton, Broome County Technical Institute, Broome Technical Community College, Broome Community College, actually I think our chartered name is Broome County Community College, and SUNY Broome Community College, their alma mater, and have used their education in business, professional studies, healthcare, STEM, and liberal arts to enter professional roles across the state, across the country, and indeed around the world. In addition to serving as a higher educator for the region, we have also been a source of employment for members of the community for this past 3/4 of a century. Currently, SUNY Broome has a professional team of just over 700 full-time and part-time employees. In honor of our diamond anniversary, SUNY Broome will be hosting a series of events, this being one of them here in the gallery, including ceremonies, assemblies, gallery exhibits, service projects, specialty speakers, appreciation days, an alumni reunion, and some really fantastic and engaging student activities throughout the year. In fact, how many alumni in the room right now? Yeah, I can't ask any room, any group of people anywhere in the county. Generally anywhere from 25 to 40% of the people in the room will raise their hand just randomly, no matter where I am. Whether you are a current student, an alum, a member of our fabulous faculty and staff, or a valued friend of the college, and we have many. We welcome you to join us in all the fun and to attend as many of these events as you can throughout this exciting academic year. Be sure to follow at SUNY Broome on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Snapchat. Of course, none of which existed 75 years ago. Some didn't exist 7 years ago. They'll help you to stay up to date on all of our celebrations. And now I would like to ask Doug Garner, Professor Emeritus and a SUNY Distinguished Professor, as well, the highest rank any professor can achieve throughout SUNY, to give us a brief history of the college. Doug, how long have you been associated with the college?
Since 1971.
Since 1971. Yeah, math serves me a little over 50 years. Come on, Doug.
Kathy told me I had 5 minutes. So, Jill Lepore, who's an historian at Harvard, has written probably the best single textbook on American history. And the question that she asks us to think about is, what does the history of the United States tell us? And I think we could use that as a parallel. What does the history of our college tell us? I think on the first level, it's a reflection of war, technology, and democracy. And I'd like you to consider the following. As World War II ended in this area, less than 50% of the young people graduated with a high school degree. Less than 2% of that 50% went on to college. This was a higher ed wasteland. The state education department, under the auspices of J.L. Jarvie, who had been at the Rochester Institute of Mechanics, thought that the state ed department should found a series of applied arts and science institutes. He had come from RIT, which had been called the Rochester Institute of Mechanics, interestingly enough. So 5 of these were established in 1946, and there was real competition to get an institute in Broome County. Meanwhile, Harry Truman had commissioned a report on higher education known as the Truman Commission, and in 1947, it called for a massive expansion of free, interestingly enough, public 2-year colleges. And these community colleges were referred to in the report as Democracy's College. So I'd like you to think about the history of the college as a case study in a series of never-ending experiments on how to meet the educational needs of the local community. 4 name changes in the first 25 years. When I got to Broome, its name was to be changed to Broome Community College. And so it went from a state tech institute run by the state education department to a comprehensive community college, all under the leadership of a single president. He was here for a quarter of a century. His last year was my first year, and I sort of thought he was a doddering, aging administrator. In retrospect, I think he turns out, as I look at the history, to be an incredibly creative person in terms of constantly reinventing the college. I think some of the key themes worth looking at in terms of the history of the college, one would be an evolving set of programs, both career and transfer. In the early 1960s, when the college was thinking of creating a liberal arts program, the county legislators, there was no county executive at that point in time, were opposed to that. It took an IBM head of their workforce development to write a letter saying, you damn well better get some transfer programs for your students. In the late 70s to the present, we have seen efforts to internationalize both the curriculum and the college, starting first with sending students abroad. My own son had the great opportunity to study in England for a semester. We also brought, for over 25 years, a large number of students, it was about 25 every year, from Central America. They came here to study technical programs, and each one had to create a program of what they were going to do with this knowledge when they went back to their communities. I handled them for the last 2 years on that part of their program, and I was really nervous given the political instability of some of those countries in terms of what they would encounter when they went back. And maybe the most recent illustration is an effort by Maureen Hankin and Jen Muser. Maureen runs the dental hygiene program, and Jen Muser is a very talented biology instructor. And they created a program that took dental hygiene students to Haiti to work with Haitians in a community which is suffering from all sorts of problems. Recent political instability has put that program on hold, but it's a terrific illustration of a community internship set in another country. The college has a long history of bringing interesting convocation speakers. The founding president, this will come as a shock, had a convocation schedule for every Friday in the first couple of years from 3 to 4, and you had to be there. When I was hired, I was told, you don't miss a convocation. So we've had convocation speakers ranging from Henry Kissinger to Alex Haley, Carl Sagan, Margaret Mead, among others. There have been over 60 of them in my time at the college, and you can see many of their pictures on the second floor of the Tishner Hall complex. Instruction has taken all sorts of different venues. The college started out with internships for the people in the original programs that President Drum alluded to. We still continue to do internships, but we started running courses in newspapers with video cassettes, ultimately to online instruction from the late 70s up to the present. We have also taken courses out into the community at extension centers and also in high schools. Starting in the mid-50s, and Dora Whale was very crucial to this, the college created a foundation. And that foundation has become one of the most successful foundations among community colleges in the country. Well, one other major point in terms of programs. In the mid to late 1980s, we took a long, hard look, and there was a lot of argument, deliberation, discussion about what should students take away, didn't matter what program, in their general education courses. Historically, they were nothing more and nothing less than distribution requirements. So many hours in math and science, so many hours in social science, and so many hours in the humanities. And we came up with a series of gen ed themes. And I think what's important for you to understand about those core themes that resulted in a civic education course, in a capstone English course, in writing emphasis courses, is the notion drawn on John Dewey's argument that all education should prepare for active citizenship. So you needed to learn how to be a productive member of society, but you also needed to learn the importance of your role in the community. The college's future faces all sorts of uncertainties. I'm not convinced that the pandemic that we are finally hoping to see an end will be the last pandemic. Declining enrollments. There was just a very recent article that enrollments in community colleges has gone down significantly. Dr. Drum can correct me, but from what I saw from that article, I think our community college may have been the only community college that had the lowest decline over the last 10 years.
There were two of us.
Two of us. So that's, I think, a tribute to us. But I want you to imagine Labor Day, 1951. The president's gone to bed. The campus is supposed to open up the fall semester right after Labor Day. Fire whistles go off, and the college burns essentially to the ground. 2 firemen, by the way, are killed in the fire. A faculty member runs to that fire, sees Tyrrell already there, and he says, "What are we going to do?" And Tyrrell says, "We will open in 30 days." What I also find interesting is that Tyrrell saw, as is in the case of the Chinese character for crisis, not only a time of danger, but a time of opportunity. And he envisioned that this finally is going to require the powers to be, and they were a tough set of powers, to help plan for a physically new campus. So what I want you to take away from what I've said here is that the college has shown a great deal of resilience and ability to reinvent itself through the collaborative efforts of faculty, staff, administrators, trustees, and even some people from outside the campus and the community. I won't be here when it celebrates its 100th anniversary. I will be going back to planet BB in the Alpha Centauri system. That's an inside joke. But I hope that there will be a 100th celebration and that we will learn something about, once again, the capacity of this college to reinvent itself as a series of never-ending experiments. Thank you.
Speaking of IBM, interesting that Doug reminds us IBM encouraged us to get into the transfer business to move students on to the baccalaureate degree, and then capping it off with the challenges we face for the future. IBM today is one of several major corporations, Apple, Tesla, Google, others, that no longer even require a bachelor's degree to get a job because they can't find enough people with bachelor's degrees to fill their jobs. So our competition has vastly changed in the last 75 years. Today, IBM being the bookends to our past, encouraging us to get into the transfer business, and now challenging our transfer business by offering their own education and certifications to people who come in without bachelor's degrees that are no longer required. How times have changed in 75 years. It's now my great honor to introduce Julia Langton, one of our current great students, to read a letter written by Mr. John Besmagian, a member of the college's very first graduating class. Julia?
To my SUNY Broome family, as we reflect on the college's 75th anniversary, I wanted to share the following memories with you. In June 1947, I boarded the Park Ave city bus on Court Street after my shift at the Binghamton Press mailroom. Little did I know that the ride to my home on Sherwood Avenue would have such a profound effect on the rest of my life. I sat in the right-hand side of the bus, and in the row of place cards above the left windows was a light yellow sign entitled New York State Institute of Applied Arts and Sciences at Binghamton. Under the heading were 5 categories: chemical technology, electrical technology, mechanical technology, medical office assistant, and technical office assistant. I graduated from Binghamton Central High School in January '47, where chemistry was the only course I excelled in and had no hope or wherewithal for college. That spring, I took a couple of courses at Central, worked in my dad's shoe repair shop as well as the press, and was trying to become a linotype apprentice. After seeing that sign all the way home, I kept telling myself I could live at home, work a little in the shoe shop, and go to school here in Binghamton. The next week, I went to the old armory on State Street and applied to the chemical technology program. There were 17 of us in the first chemical technology class. Each of us had 18 months of classes and 2 3-month stints in industry. We graduated in October of 1949, and to my knowledge, all got jobs in the industry. So here we are, 75 years later. Many of our classmates are gone, along with most of our instructors, but the experience and knowledge acquired in those 2 years is still with me. I worked for 3.5 years at General Electric before going to Purdue University, where I earned a bachelor's degree in 1956. I went on to work on nuclear reactors at Knowles Atomic Power Lab, Alamos Laboratory, the Battelle Memorial Institute, Westinghouse Hanford & Co., before retiring in 1988. I am very proud of the following. When I went to Purdue, I didn't want to retake a lot of the required chemistry courses. Since the college was not accredited in 1949, I successfully challenged 25 hours of chemistry and chemical engineering classes through oral and written exams. Without a doubt, I can honestly say I learned more about technology and industry between 1947 and 1949 than in any other 2-year period of my life. The most important thing I have learned in my 92 years is to never stop learning. Signed, John A. Basmajian, class of 1949.
Thank you, Julia. Well, we hear that from so many of our graduates, how much they learned during their time here, and I'm sure that continues today. Robin is our chief librarian and is going to share a few remarks with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Drum. Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you all here. This has been I'm not quite as tall as yours. This has been truly a wonderful experience going through the history and the archives of the college to present this to all of you. One of the interesting things that I noted was that during the first 7 years, from about 1946 to about the first 10 years, 46 to 56, the campus increased in size. This campus was the first campus for a community college in New York State. I don't know how many people realize that. And that during that period of time, there were 7 buildings erected on this campus. And then I noted that in the last 10 years, we also have erected or renovated 7 buildings. So Dr. Drum, thank you very much for your vision. And I believe that that gives us the foundation for the next 75 years. So please, everyone come, enjoy our exhibit, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. In fact, that reminds me, the very space we're in is renovated space. I think this was periodicals room before everything became digitized. And it's now our formal gallery. I don't know if college ever had one in the 75 years before we opened this as a gallery. Growing up surrounded by art and having 10 years of a college education, we needed to have a gallery, and here it is. Again, thanks all for coming, and have a great day.